This is Frank Fantini, and we are with Jamie Odell, who's the CEO of Aristocrat. And before we begin, Jamie, I'd like to thank you and Aristocrat for supporting our content that we're putting out here at G2E. We have created something that we call a virtual trade show and newsroom, in which we expect, or we hope, it's our intention, that it will be the one-stop shop for folks who want to see product demos, interviews from companies. And Aristocrat has been generous enough to be the sponsor of that, and I want you to know that we appreciate it.
It's a pleasure, thank you.
And it's also a year-long benefit. So along past G2E, we continue to put fresh content onto that section of our website.
Cool.
A year ago, I had the privilege, I guess you could call it, to congratulate you on the great job that Aristocrat had done. You guys had brought in, put the focus on content, and it was showing. You guys were gaining market share. Your recurring revenue business was growing here in North America. And here we are a year later, and the same thing is true, and even more so. So tell us a little bit about how this is playing out.
Well, thank you for that. You know, we focus very much on working together as a team, having great talent and a very strong culture and a very clear strategy. So these things may sound simple, but we believe in a high-performance culture, and really the people are at the heart of everything, people driven by great technology. And we just have a great team at the moment, and that team just continues to grow and work together. We've had a phenomenal year in the US, and we're just so proud of everyone over here. I mean, frankly, the performance has exceeded our expectations as well, so that's great. And clearly a strategy which is just based on going back 3 or 4 years since we first spoke, really trying to make the industry's best content, and realizing that as the industry is changing and evolving, and we're moving to new forms of distribution, and we can talk about mobile and what happens there. At the heart of it, we wanted to be the people making the greatest content. Now in land-based, you've got to support that with fabulous hardware, and you see out here just extraordinary hardware across all the manufacturers. But it's actually the content on the screen which makes the product sustainable. In addition to that, I think one thing Aristocrat brings from our past is we have great, what I call proprietary content. So we do have wonderful licenses, and we're just talking about having Tim McGraw on the floor, very exciting. But a lot of our success is driven by proprietary product. I think of Buffalo, and think of the success of Lightning Link this year, and a product which doesn't have big licenses, great maths models and great execution attached. So it's about the focus on great content, making sure that we have hardware which is industry leading, keeping everybody working effectively as a team through a strong collaborative culture, and frankly focusing on the customer and the customer's needs. And one thing we're aware of is we can't get ahead of ourselves. Customers are at the front end, they see what players want, and we work hard to understand that and work through that, and remain, the word I use a lot is remain humble and focused, and just make sure we keep on doing what we're doing and keep this journey going. But right now it's a terrific time to be at Aristocrat and to enjoy the success the team are having, but even more so, what this show is about, the future, and making sure that we've got the product to keep this momentum going forward.
Talking about the future, and you mentioned new distribution channels. Last year, skill-based gaming was a buzzword. Social gaming has been for the past couple of years. Now we're hearing more about things like virtual sports, virtual reality. Where does esports, where does Aristocrat, how are you going to be playing these new forms of gaming?
Well, again, going back to strategy, and I think the key thing about the role of a CEO is to make sure you have a great strategy, and then culture, and we talked about those. We think of a strategy in 3 horizons. So clearly our horizon, our 1 is our core and what you see on the floor and what we keep on doing. Horizon 2 are those pretty close adjacencies, and for Aristocrat we still have a lot of areas where we have not yet penetrated successfully, and we believe those are areas. You'll see a new stepper on the floor, for example. I mean, clearly Aristocrat historically has not been a strong stepper company because when we were more Australian-based, we're now more US-based. When we're more Australian-based, it's just not a product which is out there. So we see core adjacencies, and there's 4 or 5 areas close to what we do, where we actually believe our focus, and we'll be spending many hundreds of millions of dollars in the next few years on there. And then some of the areas beyond that, Horizon 3, we're actually investing in talent to be capable and agile, and basing people in those markets and close to where the startups and the entrepreneurs are. to try and be on the cutting edge of what's new, even if it's the stuff we don't know. And so that's how we think of it, Horizon 1, Horizon 2, Horizon 3. Specifically, we've built a fabulous social gaming business, Product Madness, which is just a terrific business, has been greatly successful for us. That industry is a great industry, some great players. It's actually starting the wave of consolidation now. We've seen the growth levels, which have been phenomenal, slow down a little bit, and that means there'll be some consolidation as players and manufacturers work together to see what probably the more stable base is going to be. Things like esports, we don't see at the moment we have the right to be in that. It's not our core IP. And one of the things Aristocrat talks about quite a lot is the stuff we don't do. So being quite honest, over the years we've come out of markets like Japan and patch slot, areas where we don't see as our core skill set, which can be distracting for the business. That doesn't mean we don't keep an eye on it, and we monitor closely, and our strategy team does that. But to think that we have the right, if you want, to come out and establish leadership in areas like skill games and esports is not how we feel about it at the moment. We feel for the next 2 or 3 years we've got plenty of growth in the core, in the adjacencies I mentioned, but we have a responsibility to our shareholders to be agile about what's happening. But I've looked at the esports, for example, and the stadiums and what happens there. That's not something we would be comfortable we have the talent to get to. So you'd end up having to buy a business, and would you understand the business? So for Aristocrat, we're a bit more cautious on that, and really, right now our focus is on having people in our business who get it and who look at what's going on, and we'll certainly take a good look at all the skill games going on the floor this week. But we don't see ourselves coming out in a showy way and saying, here, we have the right to be leaders in this. Over time that may change, but right now there's actually plenty of growth for us in the areas we're currently focused on.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that last year as well, that you were a focused company. And I think the term that you used is the question of whether you're going to be a pioneer or a fast follower.
Yeah. Well, we actually talk about pioneers and settlers in our business, because you have to have a mixture of both. If everyone's a pioneer, then no one's actually going to regroup and make the stuff work. And if everyone's a settler, the business is going to slow down pretty fast. So we think of it as pioneers and settlers and getting the right balance. And probably right now in those areas, we're now hiring a few more of those pioneers, but we're not hiring them with an expectation they're going to deliver a P&L outcome for us in the next couple of years or so.
What are the 1 or 2 things that people visiting your booth this week absolutely must see?
Well, I think it's impossible to answer that question without sort of showing favourites and things. I think the success of Lightning Link has been phenomenal, and we've got the follow-up to that on our ARC single, which is Dragon Link in terms of content, just another great maths model from the HRG team, which is superb. We've got lots of new licenses out there. We've got some new hardware. The success of Arc Double has been phenomenal. So we've got a new product we call the Edge coming out, which is actually two curved 43-inch screens and just looks great with brands like Mariah Carey on that. And then we're particularly excited about Stepper. We've got some new Stepper product, which I think looks very, very good, and got a version of Lightning Link out on that and a version of Buffalo out on that. And finally, I'd probably call out Class 2 video. Last time we met, we were all excited about VGT and this fabulous business we have in Oklahoma, a great business down there, but it's a mechanical reel business. So we've got some product at the show this year. I think we've got about 19 titles, which are Class 2 video as well, on the Helix cabinet, which is our core video cabinet. And combining the technology teams between VGT and Aristocrat has been very successful. So it's probably way too much for you there, but there's plenty.
It's a lot. You're a publicly traded company listed in Australia. What would you like investors to best understand about Aristocrat?
Well, we're lucky to be in a position where we have a great track record. We've shown 6 years of continuous growth, and shareholders have seen that through TSR growth, phenomenal. And that plays out for everybody. It plays out for employees as well, who got shares in at $2 or $3 and now and see the benefits of that. So we're a growth company. We have a track record to prove that. We continue to invest in our business, in technology. We continue to build out. I was just talking to some of our guys in Austin, Texas, where we're basically building a new office down there for a lot of the architecture development, moving studios down there. So, and our workforce has gone from 2,000 to 3,500 in the last few years. So we're a growth company. We're actually, what's unique about us, we're a growth company who we kick out a lot of cash. So if you look at our performance, you'll see very, very strong cash flows. We very quickly pay down our debt, so our balance sheet is very, very strong. And that means we've got money to invest both organically, the stuff you see at the show, as well as inorganically, and we have a team looking continuously at further M&A opportunities. So we see ourselves as a growth company with a track record and very, very secure balance sheet, very strong cash flows, and a clear strategy which has worked for 6 years based on a culture of let's keep it going. So it's, for us, for shareholders, they've seen the performance, and it's about sustaining that performance and I guess giving them a sense of confidence that there's more to come.
And when you talk about M&A, you're also focused on M&A as opposed to the big, broad mergers.
Yeah, like we've done a couple of great bits of M&A, VGT and Class 2 and Product Madness in social. And what was particularly good about those, and I think a bit different, was the fact that it didn't really disturb our Class 3 business. Our Class 3 business, we were able to continue to invest and bring more and more studios over to the US. I mean, frankly, we have far more people now in the Americas, as we should, than we do back in Australia, because there's just so much opportunity and scale over here. So we've been able to invest in our core business without disturbing it. I talked about the growth we've had in our employee base, for example. In terms of M&A, we have a very targeted approach. We have great rigor, and basically we identify strategically the sort of targets we want to work with. We make sure we don't pay too much. And finally, before we take it to our board, we make sure we believe that we can run it. You know, there's no point in making a great piece of M&A and then finally you can't really run it successfully. So we go through those three lenses and make sure that the business can quickly become accretive, churn out great cash flows. And as we've increased confidence through successful M&A, it means we have now the ability to look at different types of businesses. So we have a team totally focused on that. We'll never make a bad piece of M&A, but we'd love to make another great piece of M&A. So that's how we think about it.
Great. Anything else folks should know about Aristocrat?
No, come along and see us. I think we're really proud of our content. I think it stands out. We are a focused, humble company, and look at our performance, expect more of it, and expect more great ideas from the team, and look forward to having you back at the stand.
Okay, great. Very interesting. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank.